Welcome back to another Wartales video. So today we're going to go through skills for three different classes, the Brute, the Swordsman, and the Warrior. Again, not going to labour on the points too much, very similar to what I did with the Archer and the Spearman video. Just having a look at the different skills that they can get and their upgrades. So this is when you get the class skill books and you use those skill books to do the upgrade, what the benefit is, and breaking it down into kind of what I recommend in both easy, medium difficulties and hard difficulties. Okay, jumping straight in, Brute at level 2. So Brute, Warrior, and Swordsman get these skills at level 2, as opposed to Archers and Rangers and Spearmen that get them at level 3. So for level 2, Relentless Charge is actually a really good one on easy medium because you can actually, by the time your character levels up a bit, use it to kill people. It is a fairly low damage skill, but on easy medium with lower health pools, it's actually kind of the best way to deal a lot of damage and give you extra movement and fury for your next attack as well. So I highly recommend that one. On hard, this works really well for both positioning, the slowdown, as well as gaining fury as well. So it's a pretty handy one. I really like combining Relentless Charge with Lun's Hammer to really make it deal a lot of extra damage. Weakening Blow, however, I do recommend on hard as well for tanks because you can really lock down a high damage target and cause them to do very little damage, which is very handy. And making a unit vulnerable for a critical hit really allows other classes to come in and shine too. I really do not recommend Poison Impact when it actually gets upgraded. I think it's even worse than the base ability in some ways, which I already dislike. Applying poison to a bleeding unit, so you've already got to have one status effect on it so that you can poison it. And if you kill someone, you leave a pool of poison on the ground. It just gives you something that you have to navigate around, which is a little bit frustrating. So yeah, not recommended. I think this one will get a rework, or I kind of hope it does anyway. Brute level 5, Armor Breaker I recommend on both difficulties because there will be characters with armor. They don't have very much, particularly on easy medium, and so you will almost always break through it and get that brutality and inspiration bonuses, allowing fantastic movement. On hard, having Armor Breaker is great just because enemies have more armor, so anything you can do to chip that away faster is good. However, I have also kind of pointed out Opportunism, which is great for an AoE type build. Again, if you have something like Lun's Hammer, making sure you run in, target a couple of enemies, reduces your damage taken, and then Brutality dealing the extra damage is also good, compounds with the fury that you can get from your charge. I don't mind Cruelty, it's not too bad, I just don't recommend picking it as your primary skill. It works quite well if you combine it with the level 2 ability Weakening Blow, because you're first putting the status effect on them, and then you're granting yourself extra damage against them. So again, you're really locking down a single target with it, but I just think I get a bit more value out of the other two. Alright, straight into Swordsman. Now, Swordsman level 2 abilities are one of the rarest ones because I've actually highlighted all three on hard. Swordsman can fulfill a few very, very different roles in the party. If you're going for a pure tank type build, either of the first two skills are really good. The second one is really good, reducing the guard of enemies down to 0, particularly against champions, ends up saving you a heap of time when you're in a tough champion fight. And reducing their guard almost reduces their effective armor by about half. Encouragement is great. It is an area ability, and that 6 meter area is large enough that you can usually get a few allies, and so just reducing the damage you take on hard can be very handy. Laceration I recommend on easy, medium, and hard for damage dealing swordsmen, and it ends up dealing a significant amount over time. So Laceration is definitely a good way to go. Alright, moving on. Swordsman level 5. Okay, on hard, reducing the amount of damage that you're going to take can be a real priority, particularly in some fights. And so Bulwark, when your swordsman is engaged in combat, reduces the damage they take, as well as granting them fury. So the fury is not too bad, again, even on damage dealers. However, that deflection is the main reason that you would take it. against champions and things can be very useful. However, it does rely on engaging in combat. So it's not perfect against all champions. So against Lund, for instance, you cannot engage. However, it will greatly increase the survivability of any swordsman you take. On easy medium, because you don't need to reduce your damage taken or really weaken enemies by that much, I recommend counterattack just because you will end up probably getting a couple of kills more quickly out of it. And damage dealing swordsmen on easy medium are probably the easiest and the best to play, really. Because they can just take out so many enemies so quickly. Daring, as long as the bonus is active on this unit, they apply weakening. For one turn or then permanently when upgraded. Again, quite handy when you're taking the swordsman, and if you have either a shield or you use this encouragement one, you can guarantee that there's going to be a bonus applied to the unit as well. So you're just compounding again how much damage you're reducing or how much less damage you're going to take. Jumping into warrior level 2. Okay, so here again, very similar to what we had with the archer, where you're either picking a single damage skill like rampage or an AoE like cutting maelstrom. On hard, both work well. It just depends on which niche you want your warrior to fill. If you're picking up a lot of AoE skills, you will find that they do cost more, so you really need to make sure you're balancing those generators with your spenders. I would probably recommend not taking too many people with cutting maelstrom, just because what you'll end up finding is you don't have the valor for it, and so you can't use it. And in that case, it is better to have rampage so that you can just keep hitting a little bit more often. I actually quite like rampage, and the fact that it hits a number of times is actually pretty cool. It can trigger some interesting I guess differences in a fight where, you know, the first hit takes out their guard and then the second and third hit deal more damage than you might be expecting. Compounding with critical hits, gaining fury and increasing the damage of your next attack is really nice. And then there is actually a level 5 skill that benefits this one as well. The larger your squad is, the more you might want to consider Ovation, the third skill. So if you have a squad of sort of 10 to 20 companions, which I have seen people running around with, Ovation actually gains value the larger your squad is, because you've got more chances for valor point generation, and having inspiration to get more people into combat is fantastic. So I would actually rate Ovation higher the larger your party is. Alright, warrior level 5. So this first skill here, Madness, actually pairs really well with Rampage, because as you hit, if any of your hits reduce them below half health, the 50% damage increase is applied automatically. So you can really deal quite a lot of damage with Rampage combined with Madness. Recklessness I recommend on easy and medium, because fights last for such a short period of time that you might actually only get to use 1 or 2 skills on your warrior. So recklessness is fantastic for just taking out 1, 2, 3 enemies in the first round of combat in easy medium, and the fight will be more or less over by that point as well. Madness and Fanaticism really rely on longer combats, so easy medium they lose value. On hard, I would probably recommend Fanaticism over Recklessness. It is better once it's upgraded because you don't lose any health, of course, but having an extra 50% damage on an attack every round ends up equating to more damage overall than Recklessness does just in that first round. And it's not always guaranteed, unless you're using Splitter maybe, that extra 100% damage will kill someone within that first turn as well. Okay, that's a little bit of an overview of the Brute, the Swordsman, and the Warrior skills, and my kind of recommendations. Look, there's not really too many bad skills there, except that level 2 Brute skill. So overall, have a play around, see what you like, leave comments if there's anything you think I haven't covered or think I should be trying out that I haven't talked about here. Thank you for listening. That is Kag, over and out.